Magnanimity is a real, I would say, life ideal. Because we, all of us, have to base our actions on prudence, on courage, on justice, on self-control, but we cannot base our life on prudence, on justice, on self-control. But we can base our life on magnanimity. Magnanimity is not self-esteem, and it is not megalomania. Self-esteem, it's a psychological understanding of yourself. But if you get up okay in the morning, you can have a lot of self-esteem. And 5 hours later, or 12 o'clock 6 o'clock in the evening, after what has happened today, you can have very little self-esteem. See what I mean? It's not a stable habit of character. It's not a virtue. It's a purely subjective thing. We can help people raise the self-esteem in 5 minutes. You cannot make a magnanimous soul in 5 minutes. You need years. It's a virtue. And virtue develops with time, with the practice of that virtue. It's not a psychological thing. It's who you really are. A magnanimous person is really magnanimous. It's a part of his being. And magnanimity is not megalomania. What's megalomania? Megalomania, it's when there is no prudence at all in your virtue. All the virtues, says the Greek people, have to be guided by prudence. Prudence is the truth that directs all the virtues. So Stalin, Hitler, people ask me very often, my students in Moscow, well, Alex, Stalin, that's greatness. It was crazy, but that's greatness. Hitler, it's just incredible what he did. This guy was dreaming. Isn't this magnanimity? Why it is not magnanimity? It's not magnanimity because it's not right. And these people, Stalin and Hitler, they didn't care for what's right and wrong. It's not that they had no idea about it. They just didn't care for it. It didn't even enter their way of thinking. They had a goal. We go to this goal. Don't tell me about conscience. Don't tell me about right and wrong. These are prejudices, they will tell you. When people do not care for what's right and wrong, they cannot be magnanimous. Because in magnanimity is like all the other virtues. It has inside itself the truth, goodness, and beauty. And that's why we say it's directed by prudence. Prudence directs all the virtues. So people who are not interested in the truth, who are not interested in goodness, they cannot be magnanimous. What we see and seems great in them has little to do with magnanimity. It can be megalomania, I repeat, it can be whatever it is, craziness. It will never become magnanimity. You understand the difference? It's very important to make it. Magnanimity is a virtue. It's a virtue. It's an excellence of character. It's not craziness. So we go forward, and then I had to investigate more. Okay, leaders are people who have a desire for greatness, people who understand that greatness gives them meaning in their lives. But leadership is also a service to humanity, a service to the others. You lead others. For what? Then I understood that you lead others in order to help others to bring out greatness in the others. Magnanimity is awareness and affirmation of your own greatness and dignity. And the second virtue is humility. Humility is the awareness and affirmation of the dignity and greatness of the other. That you are a real leader when you understand that the aim of your actions is to bring out greatness in the others. In the others. It's not just about leading, about directing people towards something. No. It's about transforming them. Making them understand that they have a dignity, that they have greatness in themselves, that they need to have a sense of vocation, a sense of mission, and they have to be creative, and they have to develop themselves. And this is a fruit of the virtue of humility, that you are able to overcome yourself to understand that you need to serve the others. Servant leadership, as we say here in America. But servant leadership, it's a virtue. It's not a feeling. It's not a feeling. It's a virtue. It's a practice of something. It is the practice of the virtue of humility. When you serve people, not one day, not 1 minute, but all the time, then it becomes a real virtue. It's a part of what you are. That's why I always say to my students that leaders have always a mentality of father or mother and teachers. If you don't have this mentality, it's very difficult to say you're really a leader. A leader, he is like a father and a mother, and he's like a teacher for his people. He's not just leading a group towards something they have to do. No, he's not doing this. He is helping people, transforming themselves and giving the best of themselves in what they are doing. That's why for a leader, in fact, the material objectives that you have as a corporations, financial aims, whatever it is, they are not an end in themselves. It's just a means. It's just a means. That's why great leaders can take great risks. Because for them, to become a huge corporation with a lot of money, it's not an aim. It's not the aim of life. You can do that destroying people inside. In Russia, you can build an enormous corporation in the 1990s by killing people inside the organization. There are different ways to become rich. You can steal, you can destroy a bank. There are different ways. So for these people, what is important in leadership, it's first of all, the development of the people involved. What's going to happen with my people? If we become a huge organization, with a lot of money, a lot of profits, but the people here, and I with them, we are not developing, we are not growing as human beings, they would say, we've collapsed. We have collapsed. You see the mentality of leaders. First of all, the primacy of the individual, the primacy of the person. What's happening to me, what's happening to you. After, what's happening with our money. But first of all, what's happening to you? What's happening to me? Are we growing, doing those things? Or are we becoming smaller? As human persons. And we can grow from the material point of view. And we can diminish from the human point of view. And for a leader, this would be a catastrophe. And for him, it's also a catastrophe if there is no growth, personal growth, in himself and in the others. I'll take another example. It's very nice. I met with Francois Michelin. Michelin, we say in English? Michelin, the tires. Yeah, in French, say Michelin. I know it's not easy to pronounce. Francois Michelin is now 84 years old. He was 50 years CEO of this company who produces the famous tires, the radial tire. And I met with him in the center of France a year ago. We spent 3 hours together. And I asked him, tell me the story of your company. He didn't speak about numbers, he spoke about the human being. And he told us, Alex, all our corporate culture is based on one idea, the fact. And this fact is a historical fact. Before the Second World War, my grandfather, Edouard Michelin, who was a philosopher and was a mathematician and a good engineer, created this company and we began to produce tires. One day, a young man came to us, said, my name is Marius Mignol. I have no formal education, no diploma. I've been working in the printing industry for a while, but I love your company. I want to be involved in tires. I know nothing about tires, but I know I will like that. So the chief of the staff was a bit afraid. What do we do with that guy? He has no formal education, no diploma, nothing. Okay, we're going to send you to the printing department of the organization. We're going to see how you work there. Because at least we know that you know how to do those things. So they sent him to the printing department of the organization. And Edouard Michelin heard about the story, that they have hired a guy and that he had no formal education, and they sent him to the printing industry. He took the phone immediately and he called the chief of the staff. And he told her, are you crazy? you send to the printing industry, where there is nothing special to do there, someone we don't know who he is, just because he has no formal education. This is craziness. We don't know who this man is, and you send him there. Send him to the import-export department immediately. So they send this Marius to the import-export department to try him, to test him, to see what's going to happen with him, what is he able to do in reality. After a while, Edouard Michelin came down to the company, and he saw on the table of this man a kind of converter. He had to convert the currency, one currency to other, export, import, export. He was an engineer, this CEO. He looked at this little thing. He said, this guy is a genius. Send him to the research department immediately. He has nothing to do here. So they send Mignol to the research department of the organization. And he was there with people coming from École Polytechnique in Paris, the most prestigious school of engineers we have in France. Mathematicians at the highest level. And he was there without any diploma. He didn't understand what he was doing there. This guy, after a few years, invented the radial tire. The famous tire that changed the whole industry of tires all over the world. The famous, I will not explain how it works. It's something you cannot come with calculations. You come to the radial tire through imagination, invention, and a big love for the tires, an incredible passion for tires.